How much can you get for your house? At the end of the day, that's what most of us want to know when it comes time to sell our property. So let's talk about conventional and some unconventional ways that you can get absolute top dollar for your property. Welcome back. I'm Alex Saldana. If you don't know who I am, I've been flipping houses for about 10 years in Denver. I am a licensed real estate agent. So we have seen the ins and outs of how to get the most amount of money for your property, because really that's what the business of house flipping is. Fixing them up as much as possible within reason to get as much as possible at the end of the day. So when I started helping traditional clients about 6 years ago or so, all those skills really transferred over into being a great real estate agent for clients and coaching people through what can be done to get top dollar for your property. So let's just jump right in. The first thing you're going to need to do is actually figure out what top of the market is in your neighborhood. Now, if you haven't watched it, go check out a previous video of mine. I'll have the link below on how to comp out your property. And if you're struggling with this, by all means, feel free, reach out, and I'll give you what that number is, because I don't need to see your house in order to tell you what top of the market price is. From here, once you have all the comparable sales, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to line your house up in its current condition to where all the other comparable properties are. So if your range is from 400 to 500,000, 500 being the most fixed up property that's sold in your neighborhood and 400 being the worst condition so far in the last few months in your neighborhood, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to line up your property in the order of condition to kind of give you a rough idea of what you can sell for in its current condition. So now you have what your current value is based on your current condition. Now, let's say you're worth maybe 425 to 450, but you want to try to maximize what your profits are going to be and get up to that 500 mark. What is it going to take to get there? How much is it going to cost? So we got a super easy tip for you. Just click down in the link below. We've got our rehab calculator that you can download that tells you what our current construction costs run. Now, when we do work with our clients, we actually do offer to partner up with people to flip their house. So if it costs $25,000 to net you an additional $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 more than you would get otherwise, we'll actually bring that money to the table and get paid for it out of closing to yield you the most amount of profit. But we'll guide you through the process to tell you what's worth it. And where you should always start is kind of the big three, which is curb appeal as number one, kitchen as number two, and bathroom as number three. And in general, carpet, paint is going to yield you the most amount of money back when you go to sell your property. So now you figured out how much work it's going to take to bring your property to the top of the market value, and hopefully you figured out what work is worth putting in. It doesn't make sense to put in $25,000 worth of work if you're only going to make $5,000 more, $10,000 more. But putting in $5,000 worth of work to get 25 more is a big difference. But if you're struggling with this here, just reach out, send me some pictures of your property. We'll go over everything and tell you what's worth doing, what's not doing. Real simple and easy. Now the next part is going to be, how are you selling this property? This is a big aspect of how you get the most for it. Are you going to go for sale by owner to try to save costs on selling, or are you going to hire a real estate agent? Now, everyone's got their own thoughts on what real estate agents do, and I'm not here to get into a debate about that. What I will say is that 95% of agents just do the same thing when it comes time to selling your property. Here's a reality, is when we all get our licenses to become real estate agents, and then we go through the process, no one teaches us how to sell a house. And I don't just mean how to list a property, how to go through the documents. People teach us how to do that, but I'm talking about real marketing to sell a property. What are the steps that are followed when marketing a property? Is it 50 steps or is it 5 steps? Beyond getting professional photographs, which everybody should do, for crying out loud, they're only a few $100. What other opportunities are they going after to market your property to the most buyers? Or are they just putting it on the MLS? So it's extremely important to find out what your agent's marketing plan is. And if you are going for sale by owner, what is your marketing plan to get in front of as many buyers as possible? So lastly is, when are you going to be selling this property? This is a huge piece choice of how much you're going to get for it and when is the best time in your market to sell your property. Here in Denver, which is the market I know best and it's the one I can talk about the most, the best time to sell your house is from January till about the beginning of May. June, July, and August are not the best times to sell your house, but that's what you hear in the news. So why is that the case? Well, June, July, and August do have the most amount of transactions. I will give them credit for that. However, we also have the most amount of inventory. In January, February, and March, we have the least amount of inventory, yet we sell about 5,000 homes a month. In June, July, August, we may sell 7,000 or 8,000 homes a month in the Denver metro market. However, we've got more than twice the amount of inventory. So we actually have the least amount of showings in June. July is the peak for the slow season here. August, it starts to pick back up again. September, it starts to normalize even more. So keep that in mind when it comes time to sell your property, is how you time the sale. And here's why in the Denver market, the spring months, early spring months, are the most hyper. So imagine you got a couple of kids. Imagine those kids are in school. When do you want to actually be moving? You typically want to be moving during the summer months to not impede on their school year. So June, July, and August. Well, what are you doing from January to the beginning of May? You're looking for a house to buy. And at the same time, the least amount of sellers are on the market because they don't want to sell their house in the end of winter or the beginning of spring. They want to wait till summer because that's what they've heard their entire life, is summer is the best time to sell their house. But if you got kids in school and you want to be selling your property in the summertime, you want to be buying in the springtime to make that transition as easy as possible. So there's our tips on how to get the most amount of money for your property. And once again, we're here with any specific questions that you have. Just feel free to reach out. And if you haven't watched the previous video on how to comp out your property to figure out what top of the market value is, feel free, watch the video. I'll have the link below here, or just send us a message and we'll get you what that number is.